Ryan over at 2MinuteTennis.net. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate you spending some time with me as I answer some questions live. I will be posting this on my channel, so you might see this when it's not live, but if you're here while we are live, I'm super excited to have you because I'm going to be able to answer your tennis questions. So if you have any questions, make sure you type it in. If at any time you say, you know what, Ryan, I love what you do. Hey, what's up? Thank you, Smash the Numbers. Thank you, Ferris. I appreciate this. I appreciate you being here. I love all the times that you comment. So I created something new. It's called Buy Me a Coffee. So unfortunately, YouTube takes 30% of any like stickers or donations that you want to make to the channel, and it helps me and my family. But luckily, Buy Me a Coffee only takes 5%. So you'll see it in the description. And hey, thank you. Hey, thank you, Mikey. Thank you, Mikey. I really appreciate you being here. Um, his channel is awesome. Thanks, Mikey. I'm sure you're a great tennis player yourself, so you have good taste. So if you'd like to push if you're on your device, like a portable device, phone, tablet, you can just push the title of this video and you can look at the description. You can buy me a cup of coffee. Otherwise, if you're on your computer, just look very much, just below the video. And it really helps me out and my family out. So thank you so much. So really quickly, I want to give you some amazing advice that is going to help you win more singles matches. Let's get right into it. First off, when you are in a rally, please make sure that you are picking an air target. So many players, they desire to hit the ball deep in the court. And why wouldn't they? Hitting with depth is the number one way to force an error. And to that end, forcing an error is the number one way to win a point. There are three ways to win a point. Many people don't think of it this way, but there are three ways to win a point. You can hit a winner, which just the definition of a winner is you make the ball bounce twice. You can wait for your opponent to miss, and that's called an unforced error. And then there's a forced error where you force your opponent into missing. Of those three, the most valuable way to actually win a point is forcing an error because you can repeat it. You can do it over and over again. The problem with an unforced error is you just have to hope that your opponent has a bad day. Well, that's not a good thing to do and hang your hat on. And hitting winners, very risky because you're trying to hit the ball near the sidelines or, away from your opponent, so far away from them that they can't get it. But you just can't do it over and over again. In fact, the pros, they only hit a winner about 25 to 30% of the time. And if they're only hitting winners that, small percentage of the time, what are we going to do? So we're trying to force an error. The easiest way to force an error in a ground stroke exchange is depth. And how do you get depth? By aiming high enough over the net that the ball carries deep. A few months ago, I heard something on Instagram that I thought was incredible. If you have any questions, make sure you type it below. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Hey, thanks, Axel. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching the videos. So you might know on Instagram, I'm going to give a shout out to Coach Connor Casey. The guy's hilarious. He always makes such funny videos, but he also adds, great content from tennis tips as well. And the one tip that I heard from him, this had to be 4 months ago, 5 months ago. I thought it was phenomenal when it came to how to get depth on your ground strokes. And something he said was amazing. He said, try to make your ball still be rising as it crosses the net. As the ball crosses the net, try to have it be that the ball is still rising. It's an interesting way to think of it, right? And maybe it's just a swing thought, and maybe it isn't actually what happens. But when I go out and I hit, and I try to make the ball rise or still be rising as it crosses the net. And it doesn't mean you got to hit the ball 8 feet, 10 feet, 20 feet over the net. It's just try to make the ball so it's rising as it crosses the net. You will be shocked how deep you hit the ball. So you don't need to hit the ball super hard to get depth, but you do need to hit the ball the appropriate height over the net that gives you the depth, But if you think of making the ball rise as it crosses the net, a really cool idea. All right, let's see what we got here. Hello from Seattle. Hey, Erwin. What's up, Erwin? Good to see you here. I lob so much. Coach called me lobster. How do I get off my lobbing addiction? 3 second lobs works most of the time, but it does not work with players better than I am when there is wind. That's genius. Yeah, Paul, I thought it was phenomenal to hit your ground strokes. And just as that thought of, you know what, I'm going to make the ball still be ascending as it crosses the net. Hello from Brazil. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, Fonseca. That's right. He is coming. Kid's the future. You got it. I did make a Jorge. I did make a video on Fonseca. I believe on his forehand and possibly his serve too. I'm not sure. All right. So how do you get away from the 3 second lob? Okay. So Ferris is talking about the 3 second lob where it's a defensive lob. Your opponent comes to the net, and instead of trying to avoid them, instead of trying to make the ball land behind your opponent, just hit the ball super high so it stays in the air for 3 seconds, then they'll screw up the overhead. But if you're trying to get rid of that, then you got to make sure that you're aiming nice and low right to their feet. So if your opponent is coming to the net, Ferris, your goal is to try, especially with the thought process, you're trying to get away from that high ball. Is you're trying to see how often you can make your opponent deal with a low volley or half volley. See, if your opponent has to volley up and you're getting the ball at their feet or even like making the ball land around the service line, they have to hit the ball up. Anytime your opponent has to hit the ball up when they're at the net, that's a good thing. And so my recommendation is always to involve people in the point rather than avoid them when they come to the net, because it's much more likely that they'll screw up a low ball than it is that you'll hit a screaming winner off to the corners. And since you win the same number of points, whether they screw up because you forced them or if you hit a winner, you might as well just go with the higher percentage shot. And the higher percentage shot is to go to their feet. So, one thing you want to do is practice with a friend, Ferris. They're on the service line, you're behind the baseline. They feed the ball to you, and your goal is to give them a low ball. If you give them a low volley, you win the point, or you get like a tally mark, right? In your mind, you're like, okay, 1-0. If you give them a high volley, they get the point. If they volley above net level, they win the point. If they volley from below net level, you get the point, even during the rally, right? It's not like the point ends or the rally ends. And first one to 11 wins, and then switch jobs. It'll train you. Oh, I got to get them to be down here. If at any time they have an overhead or a high volley or anything above net level, they get the point. That's a super easy drill that you can do with your friends or a local coach. And it will ingrain in you, oh, my opponent's up. I'm going to hit it to their feet. I'm going to get them to contact a low ball. Good question. Really good question. All right. Let's talk another idea here. Single strategy still. And thank you so much for being here. We got 27 people here. Very exciting. If you love this type of live content, make sure that you hit the thumbs up button. So hit the like button. We've got only 6 likes with 27 of you here, right? Okay. Let's talk about second serve returns. If you're dealing with someone with a very strong serve and you might stand really far back in order to react, what you need to do on the second serve, if they have a weaker second serve, thank you for hitting the like button. We got 4 more likes. Thank you so much. Is if you're dealing with somebody with a weaker second serve, what I want you to do is move forward and move over. By the way, can you all let me know right now? Does the point, because I have an idea, I have a feeling that when I go live, that the board is switched. Does it look like they're playing the ad side or the deuce side? Can you just type that in the comment section? Does it look like they're playing the ad side or the deuce side point? Because the video, I believe, see how like Nike is reversed here? Is Nike reversed? Is the video reversed? Just let me know that. That'll help me just as I teach here. But what I want you to do is I want you, when you move up, it looks like the ad side. Yeah, it's switched. Okay, no problem. So let's do this. I'm going to teach it this way to make it very simple. All right, now it looks like the ad side. I'm sorry, now it looks like the do side. Thank you, Martin. Thank you so much. All right, so here's what I want you to do. If you're dealing with someone with a weak second serve and you want to attack, thank you, Jorge. I appreciate it, everybody. Thank you so much for helping me. When the ball comes in, your goal is to try to hit your strength. And if that's your forehand, if your strength is your forehand, then when you move up to attack a second serve, like before they even serve, you're back here for the first serve, and then you move up for the second serve. I want you to move over a little bit if you're right-handed and that's your forehand, because now you can attack. I don't want you standing equidistant to where the ball can land down the tee and out wide against a second serve, especially if the serve is weak. You might as well move up a little bit and then move over. Maybe that'll force them to try to attack your backhand if that's your weakness. Or, and they're going to hemorrhage. They're going to miss so many second serves, hit a lot of double faults, or they're going to try to hit it over here really fast. They're going to hit a ton of double faults. Unless you're playing Pete Sampras, who's got an incredibly fast, amazing second serve, in the history of the game, you're going to be dealing with a slower serve. So make sure that you move over a bit. This is a simple tip that's going to allow you to hit your ground strokes. Yeah, go birds. Sorry, it normally is the other direction, so the E faces the other way. But thank you so much. Thanks. Wait a minute. The Human Fund. The Human Fund. What's up, Jocelyn? Tell me you're a Seinfeld fan without telling me you're a Seinfeld fan. Yeah, the Human Fund. We don't. Why don't we teach to hit flat, less brushing up in the modern tennis? Spin is great, but we can overspin the ball too. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's so funny. Can you overspin the ball? Yes. Absolutely, you can overspin the ball. I have a lesson tonight with a guy in Austin, Texas, who one of the things I'm going to be teaching him is that he overspins the ball. Typically, I'm a big fan of exaggerations, Jake. So the idea of overspinning, people usually fall short of attempting to overspin the ball, and they hit a little bit flatter into the back of the ball. I'm a big fan of exaggeration. So people tend to fall short of what you want them to do. So teach them to do this, they'll fall, and that's an extreme or an exaggeration. They'll fall short of it and kind of end up exactly where you want them to be. Kind of that Goldilocks idea. If I try to hit the forehand, I'm giving up a lot of the court. That's a great thought, but the issue here is you're giving up some court, but you're doing it in a smart way. Because when you return serve against a weak second serve, you don't just hit your forehand as your strength. Yeah, you got it, Jake. You don't just hit your forehand as your strength. What you also do is you hit to the outside thirds. So when you are dealing with a strong first serve, your opponent has a strong first serve and you stand pretty far back, which, by the way, is a nice quick tip on its own. A lot of people say, how do I react? Like, how do I shorten my swing against a really fast server? Well, just take a page out of Medvedev's book and just stand farther back. Sure, they might try to ace you out wide or slide the ball, but don't assume that they can even hit that serve. If they're blasting their serve, if you just start a step back, they're probably still going to blast their serve. They want to show off how fast their serve is. They'll almost take it as a like an insult, like, oh yeah, like you think, or almost like a challenge that all of a sudden they're going to try to blast their serve. But you start further back. When you're back here returning a first serve, aim to the middle, aim to the center third of the court. Watch how often the big three returned to the center third against really strong serves. They weren't going for the corners against really strong serves. They were trying to center the ball. When you center the ball, it gives you margin. When you center the ball, it gives your opponent less angle on that next shot. But also when you center the ball, especially if you can get it deep, many of your opponents, they fall into the court and then they don't use the appropriate footwork to move back. So then what happens is you can pin the ball at their feet and they hit a weak ball. But when you move up and over and you're trying to expose your forehand, then you hit to the outer thirds. You don't hit to them. You're up, you're inside the court. It's a weak ball that's landing short because it's a serve. You move around it, and now you're going to the outer thirds and you're attacking. And if you hit it really well, then you go forward. All right, guys, really quickly. The next 15 minutes are brought to you by. I knew you were a lefty based on what you were saying, dancing. The Proton Ball Machine. This thing is unbelievable. 17 pounds. I use this in all my videos now. This thing is unreal. If you want to get a Proton Ball Machine with free shipping in the US, you can use my link. It is in the description. If you're on your phone, you can always tap the title of this video and up pops the description. Also, if you would like to donate to 2 Minute Tennis, it would mean the world to me and my family if you did. You can buy me a cup of coffee in the description as well. What's great about making a donation with Buy Me a Cup of Coffee is they only take 5%. Where YouTube, if you buy a super chat or something like that, they take YouTube takes 30% of your donation. So if you've donated $5 to 2 Minute Tennis in the past, it was 30% was actually taken away, which is what $1.50, right, of that. So thank you so much if you use the Buy Me a Cup of Coffee. All right, let's talk some doubles. And again, if you have any questions, I'm also going to be demonstrating technique like serve, forehand, backhand, anything here, so I can move the tripod and I can teach you anything. So throw your questions up, and I will get to them. All right, let's talk double strategy. First off, you got to make sure that you know where to stand to start the point. Most points, the players are not standing in the right spot to start the point. When you serve, stand a few feet inside the singles line. When you're the server's partner, stand smack dab in the middle of the box. When you're the returner's partner, start on the line and slightly shaded toward the center tee. And the returner is usually in a good spot from my experience of 3 decades of coaching, or almost 3 decades, just because the returner is going to stand where they need to in order to respond to whatever serve is going to be hit, right? So faster serve, stand farther back. If they can really like curve the ball out wide, then get the ball over. Sorry that the letters are backward, but obviously, as you know, this is backward. But this is server, server's partner, returner's partner, and the returner. All right, really quickly here. I want to help you to know where to look when you're at the net. I just made a video of this about this yesterday, the day before. I forget. I know it's mirrored. Yep. Thank you, Manu. Thank you so much. Good to see you here. Yep. I know it's mirrored. I can't really control that. That's just how it works. There are things you can do, but I didn't do it. Okay. So really simple. Um, when you're at the net in doubles, you have to just follow. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Erwin. So, Erwin just donated to buy me a cup of coffee in the description. So, thank you so much, Erwin. Really appreciate it. So, when you're at the net in doubles and the ball goes by you, don't look back at your partner. If this is you, your partner serves and the return is hit back cross court, which we know that doubles is kind of a cross court game with the two net players watching the ball go by, right? This player needs to look at this player. Now, I'm going to teach you where to move, but let's just talk about where to look. If you're at the net and the ball goes behind you, do not turn and look at your partner. Instead, if you can't poach it or pinch and get that ball, then you immediately look at the other net person. Because if they come forward and they intercept that ball and they're going to nail it at you, you need time to react by seeing them and reading it right off of their racket. I can't tell you how many times I see this. The net player, the ball goes by them. This player turns and looks at their partner as they hit the ball. This player jumps the root. As the ball goes cross court, this player says, "Whoa, nice shot cross court." And as they turn their head, they get nailed with the ball. They had no idea that this player made that move. It's incredibly important that when the ball goes by you, you look at the opposing net player because they're the first person who can hurt you. Now, let's also talk about where to move. Because when you're at the net, you don't want to be a cardboard cutout. When you are at the net, you need to follow the ball like the ball is a magnet. These are just little magnets I got at Home Depot. I was looking for like the perfect tennis ball, and I was in Home Depot getting something else. And I saw magnets, I was like rubber magnets. I'm like, this is the most amazing thing. So I made sure to get a couple for the board, which is great. So when the ball goes cross court, the net players should follow the ball like the ball's a magnet and they're getting pulled toward the magnet. So this player getting pulled toward the magnet, they go forward. This player getting pulled toward the magnet, they move back and slightly at an angle. What you'll notice is the net players have switched their positionings. Notice at the beginning of the point, the server's partner was in the middle of the box. The returner's partner was on the line. When the return went back cross court to the server, though, they actually switch positions. Then, if the ball goes cross court, these players switch positions. The ball's got to go cross court first. Then you make this move. When you are at the net in doubles, you want to be either in the middle of the box or on the line. And as the ball goes cross court, you switch. Now, you'll make that move after the ball gets past the net guys. Like this, if this is you and the ball goes cross court, you're trying to intercept it. You're trying to get that ball and nail it at that person's shins or knees, right? You don't avoid them, just crack it right at their legs. If the ball gets past you, though, you move back to the service line, this person moves up, and this player is looking at this player to know where their partner hit the ball. All right, let's see what questions we got here. I've heard statistics say that 90% of the points in not pro games. How the best tactics to force an error without too much risk? Any tips? Okay. Is the first 4 points is not it's 70%. Okay, well, not maybe 70% in non-pro. Okay, so let's talk about doubles. So doubles is not a game, Jorge. Doubles is not a game of avoid your opponent. Doubles is a game of hit the ball to the correct opponent. And thanks so much. We're up to 20 likes. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So we've got, compared to singles, if you think about singles, you got two people. In doubles, they double the number of people, but they haven't doubled the size of the court. So if you're playing doubles and you're looking to avoid your opponents, you are going to hit a ton of errors because it is not easy to avoid your opponents. The way you force an error in doubles is by net players nailing it at the legs of net players. If you're in the back in doubles, you cannot force an error with much success. I mean, you can hit the ball really, really deep, which is one way to do it even in singles. But your job as the baseliner in singles is not to end the point. Your job in the back, I meant to say in doubles, I hope I said that. Your job in the back in doubles is to prolong the point. When you're at the net, your job is to end the point. And there's a really simple way to know where to hit the ball. Just hit the ball to the opponent who is standing where you're standing. When you're in the back, hit the ball to the other baseliner. Baseliners hit to baseliners. Net players are trying to intercept it and nail it at the other net player. Net players aim for net players, especially when you got a high ball. Low balls, it's a little different. But when you have a high ball, overheads, high volley, medium volley, anything above net level, you're cracking it at the legs, at the shins, at the shoes of the other net player. They will have no time to react. If you try to hit to the middle, it's too close to the baseliner and they can get the ball back. And if you're always trying to go, if you're always trying to go for like really sharp angles, you're going to miss a lot. When it comes to singles, you can force an error by hitting really deep. You can force an error by coming forward and making them avoid you, because when you go to the net, half the time you don't even have to hit a ball because they're just doing everything they can to avoid you because they're going to treat you like McEnroe or Edberg or Henman or Navratilova. They're going to look at you and go, "Oh, I can't hit the ball to George. He's going to be amazing and put it away on me." So then all of a sudden they start avoiding you, and when they avoid you, they end up avoiding the court. And that's good for you. And when your opponent comes to the net, you're looking to hit the ball really low to them, because most of your opponents do not split step when they come to the net, so they cannot adjust to balls at their feet, or you hit really high and you let them screw up the overhead that is rapidly descending from a lob height that they've never practiced in any lesson or anything, hitting overheads off of. All right, we got some more questions. What are the best things to think about before serving? Great question. Let's talk about it. All right. So, first, when you are hitting a serve, it is critical that you start with your racket face open. And I'm going to demonstrate this left-handed so that it looks right-handed on the video. So I apologize for my technique and it's going to look very awkward. But this is my left hand right now. But notice my racket face is open. When you okay, let me just be very honest with most of you here, or with all of you here. 80% of players think they use a continental grip on their serve, but only 20% of players actually do. And that means there are many of you who are watching this video right now who think you're using a continental and you're not. And it's not your fault. You just need to be coached up. But when players send me videos of their serves, their forehands, their backhands, right? I analyze. That's my business, my job. I don't teach on court anymore. I do video analysis. Um, what ends up happening is they will tell me, "Hey, my grip is good. I've got a continental, but my toss is wrong and my swing is wrong, and I always go my racket face opens and I can't pronate and my tossing arm is screwing up." But here's the thing: almost always the players who are sending me videos of their serve, they're using some form of an Eastern grip. And I just had Manu John saying that he likes the Eastern grip. That's awesome that you like it, but I can tell you that I want you to really pay attention to your grip. If the Eastern forehand works well, then fine. But I would suggest at least experimenting with the actual proper grip because most players are not using the proper grip. At the beginning of your serve, your racket face should be open at about 45 degrees if your wrist is flat. See how my wrist is flat? Like my palm's not up and my palm's not down. If your wrist and hand are straight up and down, you can see that right there, right? A continental grip opens up the racket face at about 45 degrees. You can always tell what grip somebody has from courts away when they're about to serve. And because when you want, I'm going to do this right-handed, even though it's going to look lefty, they'll have their strings facing down like this. They're like, "Hey, all right, 30, 40," and they look like this. You know, look, their strings are facing down. We know as coaches, we know what grip you have because a continental grip will never point the strings down like this. So before you serve, just make sure you film yourself and you look to see where your strings are pointing. Now, don't hold an Eastern forehand grip and then just contort your wrist. That's why I suggest that you open up the racket 45 degrees and then grab on with the back of your wrist very flat. And that's going to give you the continental grip. Another tip that's really going to help you on the serve is toss slowly. In my experience, players generally have tosses that are way too high. The higher you toss, the less time you have to hit. The higher you toss, the more time you have to swing. That's definitely true. You have a lot of time to swing, but you have very little time to hit the ball because the ball is rapidly descending from that high point. And it makes it very difficult to hit the sweet spot. It also makes it very difficult to hit with full extension. If you're someone, if tossed slowly, then the ball does not go high. you you are 100% right, Manu. Let me plug in my phone because my phone's about to die here. Yeah, so think about this. Do you want a lot of time to swing, or do you want a little bit of time to swing? If you toss the ball really high, you now have a lot of time to swing, which means you've got a lot of time to waste. Now, you could be like Sabalenka and toss and just pause the racket, but why toss really high just to require a pause when you can keep the swing continuous? Look at Giovanni Pericard, look at Ben Shelton, look at JJ Wolf, look at Nick Kyrgios. These are all players, Casper. These are all players with lower tosses. And if you have a lower toss, that gives you less time to swing. So distance over time, right? Speed. All of a sudden, you've got to swing really fast. So tossing lower is a nice, easy way to build the need for racket speed. So you can increase the speed of your serve by simply tossing the ball a little bit lower. What I'm not saying is to contact low. I'm not saying toss the ball at eye level. You're still going to toss at full or contact at full extension, but we can toss the ball much higher than our full extension. So we've got to toss it slower. That's going to force us to swing faster. Now, back in 2014, I invented the idea of the birthday hat serve. So if you've ever seen anybody teach the birthday hat serve, you are now looking at the OG of the birthday hat serve. I was teaching a bunch of 8-year-olds. It was a Thursday class, 4 o'clock. I used to teach until 6 o'clock on Thursdays, and the 4 to 5 class were little kids, like 8 years old, 9 years old, and they were all serving like this. You know, even with the correct grip, they would just make this move. And I told them that unicorns cannot serve correctly because the racket would hit the horn. Oops, give me a second here. My Siri on my computer is talking about tossing lower and building the need for racket speed. That's so funny. So hitting the birthday hat, unicorns can't serve correctly. If you use the proper service motion, like Sam Groth, like Ben Shelton, like Kyrgios, like Osaka, like Federer, what you'll notice is the racket passes in over the head and will hit your birthday hat. Now, my favorite player of all time, which is actually Pete Sampras. Here's an autographed picture of Pete Sampras that my wife got me for Christmas a few years ago. Pete Sampras does not hit the birthday hat. Shapovalov does not hit the birthday hat, but they lay the racket open like this, but then they come around with the racket face closed, supinated, and then they go into the pronation. I can tell you that 99.9% of recreational players who go into the waiter's tray do not come around with their racket face closed like Isner or Felix Auger-Aliassime requiring pronation. So we've started with the racket face open because you asked about like technical ideas for the serve. Make sure that your racket face starts open at the beginning of your serve. Look at Rafael Nadal. Toss slower than you normally do so that the ball doesn't go as high. So you've got to have a quick, fast acting swing so you can build up racket speed, and you can allocate that racket speed towards spinning the ball or pronating and hitting the ball fast. And then you've got to practice hitting the birthday hat. Sorry, that was left-handed. So I know the video is reversed, but I got to do it right-handed. The goal is that you make this move, that you wear a birthday hat like a unicorn horn. Now, don't put it back here because then you look up and there's no birthday hat to hit. So you got to have it kind of in the unicorn position, unicorn horn position. So when you look up, it's pointing straight up, and then you hit the birthday hat. There is no better drill than the birthday hat serve for teaching you the circular motion where the racket passes in over the head, because you get the instant feedback. Did you hit the birthday hat? If you don't hit the birthday hat, you're probably going into the waiter's tray. Also, your birthday hat thing, I can tell everyone about it. It's awesome. Hey, thank you so much. Thank you. Wait, what? Repeat the Sampras serve without hitting the hat? Yeah, so Sampras did not hit the birthday hat. If he wore a birthday hat, he wouldn't hit it. Like Federer would hit it every time. Sam Groth, the fastest server in the world, would hit it every time. Uh, um, Layla, yeah, Layla would hit it. Osaka would hit it. You watch these players, the racket passes right in over the head. But Sampras would not. But what Sampras did is he had incredible shoulder flexibility, and his racket would come around with the strings closed like this. This is what you want to create. You want to create your racket face closed on the way to going up to the ball. The only way to force pronation is to make sure you come around supinated. All right, I want to give you one final tip, and then we'll answer some questions again. One final tip. The birthday hat isn't the end all be all, because it is possible to knock off the birthday hat and still have your strings facing up. So here's an amazing drill to help with this. Get a foam ball, and I'm going to do this right-handed, so it's going to look lefty, but I got to make sure I actually can do it. I want you to practice hitting the wrong side of the racket against the ball. I want you to hit the wrong side of the racket against the ball. The reason is when you hit the birthday hat, it's so easy. Like some people say, Ryan, I hit the birthday hat and then my racket opens and my strings face the sky. How can I combat that? Well, you've got to feel this. If you look at Felix Auger-Aliassime, his rackets, his strings, as the racket goes up to the ball, the strings are facing down. This is supinated. When you are supinated, it then requires pronation. You got to be supinated to require pronation to present the strings to the ball, which is the fastest way to move the racket through contact. So an easy way to feel what it's like to be supinated is to actually hit the wrong side of the racket, not to play a match or to, when you play a tournament, or it's just a drill to feel what it's like to knock off the birthday hat, which is this way from right to, I'm sorry, I got to do it this way for it to be right to left, from right to left, since the video is reversed, and then hit the wrong side of the racket. If you can do a drill like this, where you pass the racket in over the head and then hit the wrong side of the racket, you're basically 90% correct. Then you just need to add that last 10% where you turn into the contact. Thank you for the great question about technical things that you can think about the serve. Really, really good stuff. All right, really quickly here. I want to tell you for 10 seconds about a sale that I'm doing right now. The sale actually runs, I started it last weekend. It's going to run until Sunday night. If you would like to take lessons with me, meaning if you would like me to analyze your serve, your forehand, your backhand, your volley, your overhead, if you want me to analyze one of your strokes, putting you side by side with the pros, teaching you what you do correctly and what you need to change to gain confidence, win more matches, and play much better tennis, I'm currently running a sale on my very popular video stroke analysis lessons. They are normally $110 for like a half an hour video that I make for you, putting you side by side with the pros, teaching you everything. It's 10 times better than any on-court lesson you'll ever take, probably 100 times better. It is only $60 right now until Sunday night. Go in the description right now, and you can see as one of the things I put in there, it was Get Analyzed by Ryan. Click that link. And if you're on your phone, just click the title of this video. Tap the screen, click the title of this video. 2-Minute Tennis is live. Ryan answers your tennis questions. Click that, and up pops the menu. Go in the description and click Get Analyzed by Ryan. And you can get analyzed by me, teaching you putting you side by side with the pros. You just send me videos of your forehand, backhand serve, side view, and back view. I make the video and I send it back to you. It will be far better than any, and it'll help you improve far more than any on-court lesson you can ever take. I'll tell you this, the tennis court, great place to practice, but it is certainly not the best place to learn. Off court is the best place to learn. And then you go on court and you apply it. So if you want me to analyze you and be your coach, just click in the description, Get Analyzed by Ryan. And the price on Sunday night will go back up to 110, but a couple times a year, I always lower the price. And here is one of those times. All right, let's see what questions we have. Hi, Laura. I'm getting confused on where your weight balance should be when tossing the ball. Are you tossing with the majority of your weight still forward? And then after you toss, you rock backward? No, 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 no. Nope. Are you a pinpoint or platform? Are you a pinpoint or platform? So what I teach is rock back, and then as your weight's going forward, that's when your toss goes forward. So I don't want you tossing while leaning back. It's rock back, and then you toss and you go forward. So it's like at that moment when you're back, you toss and you go forward. I'd be interested to know if you're a pinpoint or platform too. You're a platform. Yep. Does that help? One thing that you have to worry about with a pinpoint is many times players toss and then they take forever to bring this back foot up. So what I teach, this is why I asked, what I teach on the pinpoint is that as your tossing arm goes up, you bring this foot up. And that way you can explode up before you hit the birthday hat, which is the correct timing of the leg drive. You want to drive your legs up just before. I mean, you could do it as you hit the birthday hat, but it's better if you start driving your legs up just before. But what you end up seeing with pinpoint is players will toss, they'll take forever to bring this foot up, and the racket gets all the way behind them, and then they drive up, and everyone calls that an early racket drop, but it's actually not an early racket drop, it's a late leg drive. Hey, can you explain the supination and hip fire on the forehand? The supination, a couple of new videos been out about it. So you lead with the elbow, yes, subsequent pronation afterwards. Can you elaborate? So I am not a fan of the idea of skipping a rock where the elbow, you lead with the elbow. I am not a fan of this type of swing. Uh, that to me, I'm going to be very honest with you. Um, that type of swing, when you watch rec players, and I'm going to say rec players are 4.5s and below, when you watch rec players try to copy that swing, it gets pretty ugly pretty quickly. I do not teach leading with the elbow, which is like skipping a rock. I do not teach that technique. That doesn't mean if somebody did it well, I would unteach it. That's definitely not what I'm saying. Um, but this idea of the hip going and this elbow move and the racket making this move and then making that move, which is that to that. I can be very honest with you. I wouldn't have the number of subs I have if I was teaching that. I'm not saying there isn't somebody with more subs teaching that, but uh, that is not a helpful technique that players like that type of swing doesn't help rec players play better. If you're struggling with your forehand, when you add that, you'll just continue to struggle with your forehand, if not more. So I'm gonna pass on teaching the skipping the rock technique. Again, it's just you want to be brilliant with basics. You don't, yeah. It's just the idea. I'm finding myself getting beat on passing shots as of late. Yeah, I correctly predicted the Eagles would win the Super Bowl. Thank you. Yeah. So why are you getting passed when you're going to the net? So the number one reason you're getting passed while going to the net is because you're not split stepping on the way up. And I know this because of 28 years of coaching. Rec players, when they get a short ball and they go to the net, they hit the approach. Now they're coming forward. They are still running forward as the opponent hits the pass. You will not get past if you, thanks so much, Juliet. Thank you so much. Go Birds. You will not get past half as often if you split step. Now, here's an easy way to make sure that you split step. After you hit your approach, take 3 steps and then split. Hit your approach shot and go 1, 2, 3, split. Don't even worry about timing it with the opponent. Um, Again, just like I said, only about 20% of players who think they use a continental grip on the serve actually do. I would say even a smaller percentage of players actually split step when going to this split step reminder has been huge for me. 100% agree. Thanks. Thanks, Tennis Reboot. Thank you. Going to the net is all about the approach. If the opponent isn't under any pressure by your shot, you shouldn't go to the net. Well, at that point, it's too late. It's too late. When you're going forward, you're moving in, you're inside the court, you're running through the shot, and you're going to the net. It's too late. I'm doing the split step, but I find myself too far over on the deuce side. Um, okay. You have to also make sure that you're split stepping at the right time. And I'm not trying to be argumentative, but um, I would have to see video of your split step. Usually, people split step either way too early, but actually way too late. The proper timing of the split step is to be in the air as your opponent hits the ball. So you don't want to land as they hit. You want to be in the air, right? You're in the air and then you split. You want to be in the air as they're making contact. So if you've got swing vision or you got videos of your grounds of your game, like going to the net, scroll through the video and get it to the point where the opponent is hitting that pass and see what your feet are doing. You should be in the air for the split step. That will get you split stepping around zero point 0.2 seconds after your opponent hits, which coincides with your the delay in your reaction time. You want to land as your brain is reacting to where the ball is going. So as soon as you land, you can move in any direction. You also want to make sure that when you come to the net, that you don't go directly to the spot where you want to be. This is a really, I always told to follow the ball. Yeah, you don't want to follow the ball. You want to go more to the center. Let me explain. This is what I was just about to explain. There's your opponent, right? They're going to hit a ground stroke. And you, let's say you contact the approach shot here, right? Like right there. That's where you make contact. And you were told to follow the ball. Okay. So follow me on this. This is where you made contact, and this is where you were told to go. So you're thinking, oh, I hit my approach shot. And of course, we can talk about cross court and down the line approach shots, but let's just table that for the moment. You do not want to go in a straight line to the spot where you want to be when you're at the net so you can follow the ball. That is not what you want to do. And the reason is because the tennis ball travels much faster than we do. So if you go directly to that spot, you will only be here by the time they contact the ball. And look where you are. Sure, you're en route to where you want to be, but you can't get up there in time, right? Like nobody is up here when the opponent is hitting the ground stroke off of the approach shot. No pro gets to hear it. Like you'd have to be as fast as Usain Bolt, and you'd have to hit the ball like ridiculously slowly. And as somebody just said, if you hit a crappy shot, like don't go to the net. Well, you'd have to hit a pretty bad shot to have so much time that you could get all the way up here. So what you want to do is you always want to be bisecting where your opponent can hit the ball as they're hitting. So that means, yes, you want to be here. That's called GVP, good volleying position. Yes, you want to be here as the opponent is making contact, but you're going to have to move to here first so that you are bisecting the cross court and down the line. Then wherever they go, wherever they hit, if they hit down the line, that's why you got a split step. Then you can change direction, volley it. Then you can go to this spot. So the movement is like a hourglass. It's like this. When you hit your approach, don't follow it directly to where you want to be. Get closer to the center tee when you split step. React to where they hit. Then when you're going to get closer to the net, then you follow the ball. So if they're over here, then you're here. But you don't want to be going directly there. You want to get closer to the tee, react, hit your volley, then you can be at that spot when they're making contact with that ball. Tell me if that made sense. If not, I'll re-explain it. Normally, if a player hits into the net, is it an unforced error or a forced error? Um, hey, what's up, Bailey? Uh, Normally, if a player hits it into the net, is it a forced error or an unforced error? I mean, it depends. It's not either or. It takes the context of the situation. If you lob it up over someone's backhand overhead and they really struggle and they hit the backhand overhead diving up into the air into the net, it was a forced error. And if they're just rallying and they just for unexplicably hit the ball into the net, it's unforced. Okay, I feel so stupid. I'm always trying to bisect, but didn't think about that on the approach. Yep, no, don't feel stupid. Don't feel stupid at all. Like this is why I'm here. And by the way, if any of you are getting any value out of this whatsoever, yeah, thank you, Manu. I did create a buy me a coffee account, which they only take 5% of your donation, where YouTube takes 30%. So many of you in the past, like you'll make a donation to the channel by clicking the little like donate button, or like buying like a super sticker or super chat. But if you go into the description, it'll say buy me a coffee, and you click on that and you can donate to me and my family and to the channel. And if I'm giving you value, and that way they only take 5%, which really helps. All right. What other questions do we have here? This is fun. I love going live. It's so much fun. When I hit the approach, sometimes I get lobbed. How to avoid that? Yeah, Jorge, it's all about you're still running as your opponent hits the ball. If you're playing someone who's constantly lobbing you, then stop at the service line. It's called toes on the service line. Hit your approach shot and stop with your toes on the service line. And not even Serena Williams can lob over you if your toes are on the service line, because you can take 2 steps back, 3 steps back, and you can get any lob that's going over your head. What happens is people are still running in as the opponent lobs, and then you're running forward as the ball goes over your head. It's called rushing the net to lose at a faster rate. So that's why you got to be stationary as your opponent hits. Like, you don't want to be running as your opponent hits, because what if you're running in the wrong direction? That's the split step. So you run to wherever you need to be, and then you have to stop. You always have to be stationary as your opponent hits the ball. That way you can go in any direction. If you're running as they hit, then what if you're running in the wrong direction? You can't get to the ball. Do we always go to the center first when we hit the approach? Yeah, it really doesn't matter, right? Because um, like right here, the tee, and it doesn't have to be like directly to the tee, but it's going to be very close. But let's just take the tee. If your opponent is here, right, that's basically bisecting where they can hit the ball. If your opponent's in the center of the court, that's bisecting where they can hit the ball. If your opponent's over here, that's basically bisecting where they can hit the ball. It doesn't change. So when you hit the approach, don't go directly after you hit the approach and you make contact here. Don't go directly to where you want to be, because you won't get there in time. And then it's an easy pass cross court. You've got to come a little bit closer to make it easier, and do your best, then you got to split step, and then you got to react to wherever the ball goes. Then if they hit down the line, then you got to come back. Let's say you hit it over there, then you got to go to there. And then you get to that point, that GVP position, good volleying position, by the time they contact their pass. But you don't want to follow the ball. You want to go to where you need to be to bisect where they're going to be hitting where they can hit the ball at the time they're contacting. Amazing how I don't really need to go deeper than the service line in most cases. Were you typing something? Let's say video. I use the Proton Ball Machine with deep balls on the rise as the ball crosses the net. This helps gauge how far I actually need to go back to hit hard balls that are on the rise. Oh, very good. I love it. Beginner here. Awesome. Let's see. How do I hit the ball lower and faster? Okay. Is it just practice, repetition? Can you recommend any specific drills? Yeah, that's amazing. Bandera. Yeah, I'm happy to help. Okay, a couple things. Beginners. Beginners typically do not close. Thanks, Jorge. I appreciate it. Um, Beginners typically do not close the racket face. So what ends up happening is players hit ground strokes, and like if you watch beginners, where's the ball always go? The ball always goes up. And the reason the ball goes up for beginners is because beginners don't realize that the racket face opens as you get to the ball. So if I take a magnet here and oh, I actually have a coin. I've got a quarter. Look at that. I've got, or whatever this is, a nickel. Got a nickel on my table here, on my desk. See, I'm just balancing the coin on the edge of the racket. That's how players usually position their racket in the back when they're a beginner. They position their racket like a knife going through butter, right? What they don't realize is that the racket face opens by the time they get to the ball. Your racket face opens, opening meaning up. So what you have to do is make sure that your racket face is closed. So a closed racket, I'll show you this left-handed so it looks right-handed, since most of you are going to be right-handed. This is what your racket has to look like before you hit a tennis ball. And you do that by turning your palm to the ground. So as the racket drops, just tilt your palm toward the ground and your racket face closes. When your racket face is closed at about a 45-degree angle in the back, then your racket will be square against the back of the ball at contact. Watch this again. Racket is closed at 45 degrees. Then the racket face is square, or you can get away with a few degrees closed at contact. But what ends up happening is beginners have the racket straight up and down. They get to the ball. Now the racket's open and the ball goes over the fence. So then they swing across and they try to like pull the ball down, when really you just got to close the racket face and then swing up. That's going to give you the top spin. The ball's going to stay low, and it's going to bring the ball down into the court. I have a tournament coming up. Hi, Juliet. What should I focus on when I am playing in a tournament? Should I focus on mental toughness, technique, the score. You don't worry about technique. You don't worry about the score. Mental toughness, yeah. So you want to understand first off, Juliet. Let me ask you a question. Let's say you win you win the first round, and only Juliet can answer this question. Please, nobody give other answers. Please, I got 51 of you. Only Juliet can answer this question. Please, Juliet. Let's say you win the first round in this tournament, 2-3, right? 6-2, 6-3. What percentage of the points did you win in that match? This is only for Juliet, because I don't want her answer to be skewed by some of the other players. And there's a reason I'm asking this question, because this is really the key to understanding. Yeah, you got it, Bandera. Appreciate the feedback on how to hit lower and faster in your videos in general. Thank you so much. Yeah, you don't want your racket open. That's going to make the ball go up, and then you got to hit it slowly. So you need your racket square at contact. So what percentage of the points? Well, you obviously won more than 4% of the points if you win a match 6-2, 6-3. So what percentage? I'll give you a hint. It's more than 50%. More than 50%. Let's say you play a match, you win 6-2, 6-3. You played 100 points, let's say. Okay. How many of that 100, so it's a perfect percentage, how many of those points did you win? This is the key. Oh, you're on. No, I'm saying just guess, right? Because it's a very easy number to because it's the same every match, right? The answer is somewhere, and thank you all for letting Juliet answer that or attempt to. So I appreciate that, everyone. The answer is somewhere between 52 and 55%. There you go, Juliet, 51. Very good. Yeah. So understand, in order for you to win a match 6-2, 6-3, you've got to lose 45, 47, 48% of the points. That's almost a coin flip. There's misunderstanding of what it takes to win a match like that. There's an ebb and flow. There's like a win lose, win lose, win lose, right? You basically have to be willing to lose half the points you play. And once you understand that, it makes it much easier to be mentally tough, because you're willing, like you should just write 45% on the back of your hand. Just write 45% on the back of your hand when you're playing. And when you lose a point, just go, well, that's one of the 45% of the points that I'm going to lose today. That's just how it works. So I've had people answer that question and say 80, 85, 90, 95%. You just need to win. To win 6-2, 6-3, you have to lose. You have to lose 45% of the points. That is what Roger, yes, yes, very common. Yeah, but I learned that, not personally, but I learned that from Craig O'Shaughnessy. And he's the leading stats guy in the world for men's and women's pro tennis, doubles and singles. And he talks about the sheer numbers, and that you look at, like, in Kyrgios's career, he's lost more points than he's won. Nick Kyrgios has lost more points than he's won. Isn't that nuts? Absolutely crazy. Here's another stat. You just need to lose 45, yep, and win 55. You got it. Um, so I'm talking about points, not matches. Points. But if you look at Nadal, like, he's had such dominance. It's seriously nuts. Mental game indeed. Yeah. If you look at Nadal at Roland Garros, um, he has won 56% of the points that he has played at Roland Garros. So think about that. 55 is like the magic number. But wow, somebody else. Thank you so much, Army Sooner guy. Thank you so much for the support, buying me a cup of coffee in the comment section, or in the description of the video. Thank you so much. It just popped up. Thank you. It means the world to me. Um, so you think about Nadal's dominance. Like, oh my God, how many Roland Garroses does he have? Does he have like 14 or something? How do you win 14 French Opens? You win 56% of the points that he wins basically one extra point per 100. And that turns into complete dominance of a tournament. It's amazing. Yeah, it is fractions of a percentage. You're right, 100%. All right, let's see what we got here. Do you think people get the wrong racket because of marketing with what the pros use? Yeah, well, the pros don't even use those rackets. I use the Wilson Shift, which is not really a pro racket, but it works for me. Um, yeah. So here's what I recommend. I am not a racket guy or a like an equipment person, though I am going to be promoting a great string company pretty soon here as an affiliate for them. But so you'll see that coming up pretty soon. But I hope I shouldn't have said it, but no, I think I'm good. I think I could have said something. So what I suggest is that players use the heaviest racket they can, and they still feel comfortable with it. Look, the contact is a collision, and so the ball weighs what it does, right? And so we want to control that collision as much as we can. So if we're in a car accident, we don't want to be driving a Mazda Miata. Like we want to be in a much bigger, um, you know, vehicle. So that's kind of what yeah, we'll see. All right, let's see here. Let's see here. Heaviest racket means around 340. Yeah, yeah, you could do that. Yep. I'm a big fan of like 10 point, 10.6 ounces is kind of my favorite. Good one, Damien. All right, let's see here. Yeah, I love the Wilson blade. Really enjoy it. Look, I'm a big fan of the E Zone 100. I love the E Zone 100. I'm actually getting it strung right now. Damien, you must know something. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's see if we can go back to see some of the earlier questions. Hey, thanks, Mikey. Mikey saying you got this. Thank you. How did you know that's my tagline? All right, guys, really quickly here. If you would like me to analyze your forehand or your backhand, your serve, make you like a half an hour private video lesson, comparing you side by side to the pros, teaching you what you do correctly and what you need to change to gain speed, power, control, confidence, then right now, my video stroke analysis lessons are on sale from instead of $110 each, they are $60 each. So in the description of this video, you'll see a couple links. Go down kind of halfway and you'll see Get Analyzed by Ryan. Click that. Between now and Sunday night, you can have me personally fix your serve or your forehand, your backhand, whatever. It'll only be $60. Come Monday morning, it'll go back to 110. I tend not to think about my matches and just hit the ball back. How do I think about the game plan actively? It's harder than it seems. When do you know your primary issue is footwork versus stroke mechanics? That's when you got to get a match analysis, to be very honest with you. I do a lot of match analysis lessons. All right, let's talk about um, like, are you talking singles? Okay, Adam, are you talking singles or doubles? Why does the camera seem like it's blurry? Let's see. I'm gonna wipe it. Is that I don't know. It feels like there's like a film on the video or something. Um, okay, let's see. Match analysis legit awesome. Thank you, Rick. Thank you very much. All right, Adam, are you talking singles or doubles? All right, singles. All right, here's what you have to know about singles. There are five phases of a singles point. There are five situations in singles. You're either serving, you're returning, you're rallying, you're going to the net, or your opponent's going to the net. That's it. And I apologize. The video is reversed. See how like Nike is reversed. So if I say something that doesn't make sense with what it looks like, I apologize. Um, let's go with serving, and we'll try to. This is the ad side, but it looks like the do side to you. All right. When you are returning serve, it's very simple. When you return serve, you are going to return to the center third against first serves, and against weaker second serves, you can move in and you can hit to the outer thirds. All right. So when you're returning serve, center third against first serves, second serves, you can aim for the outer thirds because you can be a bit more aggressive. When you're serving, the most important serve here, I'm gonna have a question. Ready for this? I want you to type right now. I got 49 of you here. Which type of serve, and I'm talking about like people, like flat serve and topspin serve and slice serve. Like, what's the most important serve to hit in a tennis match? What's the most valuable serve? Let's say you could only hit one serve at your current level. What's the most important serve that you need to be able to hit? that you can use it on your first serve, you can use it on your second serve. Let's see what the answers are here. What do you think? If you were only allowed to use one type of serve in a match, by the rules, they said, hey, you have to only have one type of serve. So we got slice, we got spin, but are you talking top spin or side spin there, B-man? Slice, top spin, Damien, one that goes in, top spin from Juliet, side spin. We'll go 5 more seconds for kick. 3, 2, 1. All right. It is slice, the slice serve. Please stop hitting flat serves for your first serve. And when I say flat serve, I mean what most people attempt, which is, and true, topspin does help the ball come down into the court, but so does slice. And slice, you can hit faster and it curves and it's more difficult for the opponent to return. You will get the same consistency with a slice serve, but you can hit it faster. You can pull your opponent off the court on one side, and it makes it harder for them to hit the sweet spot because the ball is curving. When players hit flat serves, they hit a ball like this, or they think that a flat serve has no spin. But a flat serve has a lot of spin. It's just not spinning a ton. I want you to stop hitting flat serves. I mean that. I want you to eat, like, all of your serves should be spin. Either slice or top spin. Slice or top spin. One of the two, and I would highly recommend that you hit slice. When you hit slice and you can curve it into your opponent's body, holy smokes, do you cause a lot of trouble. You should start the point serving into their body, give yourself margin, build confidence that you're not double faulting and getting broken on your first service game. Another rule for serving for second serves, never miss wide. Never, ever, ever miss a second serve wide. It's not going fast enough that you're going to hit an ace anyway. So just go at the body. So first serves, hit fast slice serves. Second serves, whether it's a kick serve, I don't care, but get the ball into the middle of the box. All right. So Damien is the goat. A weak kick serve is almost a meatball. A slow slice serve is still a menace. Dennis, you're 100, or Damien, I mean to say, you're 100% right. All right. Let's talk about rallying. So we know our strategy for serving. We know our strategy for returning serve. Now rallying. The number one thing you've got to make sure of when you rally is that you have an air target, that you make sure that every single time you hit the ball, you keep track of how high over the net you're trying to make the ball pass. If you move up a little bit, you aim a little bit lower. If you move back, you aim higher. Always have an air target. You have to understand this equation. The speed you hit the ball, plus the spin you put on the ball, plus the height over the net equals where the ball lands. Most players leave out that third ingredient. If you're baking a cake or you're baking a recipe and there are 3 ingredients and you leave one of them out, that's a problem. You've got to make sure that you always have an air target because there's no net up here. The net is down here. Have an air target, and air targets give you depth. Another tip for rallying, hit the ball cross court more than your opponent. When you hit the ball cross court, you have a shorter distance to travel because you want to be on the opposite side of the court at the baseline to bisect where they can hit the ball. The middle of the court is rarely the middle of where your opponent can hit the ball. That's why when you watch pro tennis, the opponents are like this at the baseline. At the net, they're on the same side. At the baseline, they're on opposite sides. But the idea is very simple. You're just bisecting where your opponent can hit the ball. All right. Depth is great. If you can hit the ball deep, that's how you force errors. I think somebody just signed up for a stroke analysis. I think it was somebody who was just on the live here. It just popped up. My website just notified me. All right. So when you have a short ball, now it's time to go to the net. There are 3 times to go to the net in tennis. When you serve and volley, when you get a short ball, and when your opponent's in trouble. When you get a short ball, you've got to go in. You've got to make sure that when you're going forward that you split step. The number one reason why players don't have success going to the net is because they miss the split step. Every single time your opponent hits the ball, you need to split step. But there is one time where it is the most detrimental if you don't. And that is when you're going to the net after the approach, because that is when you are moving the fastest. You are moving the fastest. And if they're going to lob over you or pass cross court or pass down the line, we've all gone too fast around the corner in a car and thought, oh, I needed to go a little slower to make that sharp turn, right? So you've got to go in, but you're going to take about 3 steps and then split step. You want to land the split step just after they hit the ball. And then wherever they hit, then you can make a sharp change of direction to get to that shot. Wait, somebody was asking about game plans and singles. That's why I'm doing all of this. When you're at the net and you have a low volley, low volleys go straight ahead. So if your opponent tries to hit a down the line pass, you come in and you have to move over laterally and you're dealing with a low volley. If you're dealing with a low volley, hit down the line. The worst thing you can do is hit up with, which is what you have to do with a low volley or half volley. The worst thing you can do is hit up away from where you are, because now you've got to move laterally because your momentum's causing you to go this way, and then you've got to get all the way over here to bisect where your opponent can hit the ball, and it's not going to happen. You're going to be out of position and they're going to beat you down the line. So low volleys, you hit down the line because that keeps your opponent in front of you. And then it's a shorter distance to get to here to bisect their cross court and down the line pass. So low volleys, keep them straight ahead. There's a great account on Instagram that always shows John McEnroe videos. I swear the guy's just like filming a TV. It's like, it's pretty, it's not the greatest quality of video, but it's awesome. And he shows just Johnny Mac videos. They're very short. And watch how often Johnny Mac hit low volleys straight ahead. It's so disarming because he's not scrambling and in trouble. If you have a low volley and you volley it cross court, you now are like, oh my gosh, I got to get it over back to where my opponent is. But you're bringing the opponent to you when you hit low volley straight ahead. And then when you get a high volley, you angle it off nice and easy right in the service box off the court. When your opponent comes to the net, remember the 5 phases. We're going over the 5 phases of a singles point: serving, returning, rallying. You're going to the net. Your opponent is coming to the net. When your opponent comes to the net, the first idea is to involve them in the point. Your goal, thanks Damien for creating your account on 2Minute Tennis. It just popped up on my phone. When you hit the ball low to your opponent's feet, they're going to screw it up. So involve your opponent. Half the time they screw it up because most of your opponents are not split stepping when they come to the net. So why avoid them? Why, miss when you can just hit the ball right to their feet, right? Half the time they screw it up. The other time they hit short. So when you hit to their feet, you step inside the court. Then you go for the pass on the second shot. That is called the 2-shot passing shot strategy. Damien, thank you for purchasing a video stroke analysis lesson. Thank you so much. So there we go. We just got somebody to purchase a video stroke analysis lesson during this live. So I'm interested to know, Damien, if you're still on here, I'm interested to know what stroke I'm going to be analyzing for you. He just, what Damien did is he went into the description. He found in the description of this video, get analyzed by Ryan. He clicked the button, he purchased the stroke analysis, and he will have that within the week, I'm sure. All right, because he's going to schedule when I'm going to make it. Another thing you can do is you can lob super high and force them to hit an overhead off a rapidly descending ball, which is very tough to do. So you hit the ball really high and they screw up the overhead. When your opponent comes to the net, involve them in the point and the chances of winning go up. Serve. You got it. Sounds good. I love it. I love it. All right, let's see what we got here. If you're tired of the match, what is the number one best tip you can have to keep going? Well, you got to go to the net because it'll be really short points then. If you're tired, or if you're tired, either bring your opponent to the net or you go to the net. The point's going to be over in one shot. There you go. Brand new imported racket prices are soon going to be up because of the Trump tariffs. Where should you stand to serve? So in singles, of course, you can stand close to the center, but I'm a big fan of every now and then, maybe twice a set, standing in the doubles position, because you can really hit an angle that pulls the opponent way off the court. And as soon as you serve, you just come back over a little bit, and then their ball comes right back to you, and then you got the entire court open. If you are not moving over to create a better angle every now and then, you're missing out. And everyone always says, they're all in their mom's basement. And whenever I make a video, they always go, "Yeah, Ryan. Well, if you tried that against me, I would rip the ball down the line for a winner." No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. How do I handle high balls on my forehand? I always feel like I jam myself because the distance of the ball above my shoulder is different than hitting in the comfort zone. How to implement the Magnus effect. Okay, so one thing is you already said something that is very important that most people don't know. XCG. So, hey, thanks, Adam. Thanks. I'm glad you like the strategies. What most players don't realize is that when you play a ball at head level, you have to play the ball farther away from you than if you play the ball here, right? So your arm is a radius. So the three on a clock isn't just higher than the five, it's also more to the right. And so you have to stand farther away from the ball. So players get jammed all the time on high balls because they don't know that they're supposed to stand a farther distance away. I have a live Zoom lesson tonight at 9 o'clock with a guy in Austin, Texas. And this is one of the things that Damien, your payment just went through. I just got the Stripe notification, my credit card processing company. I just got so thank you so much. Really means the world to me. So I'm super excited to fix your serve for you. You'll love the lesson. What this gentleman, and I'm going to teach him tonight, whenever he gets a high ball, he ends up kind of like chipping and chopping because he's so close. He doesn't know to stand farther away. So if that's new to you, that is really going to help you. Been watching you for years. You've already helped. Thank you. Thanks, Damien. Um, so if you are constantly getting too close to the ball on high balls and you're feeling jammed, even though you know that you need to be farther away, what I want you to practice is trying to hit the tip of the racket against the ball. So there's something very interesting in the brain when you have your brain say, "Hey, I want you to stand farther away, but I want you to hit the sweet spot." For those of you who get jammed on high balls and you're now realizing, "Oh, I've got to stand farther away on high balls." One thing you can actually practice doing is trying to hit the frame of the racket. Because if your goal is to hit the frame of the racket, then what ends up happening is you give yourself the freedom to actually stand so far away that you might actually hit the frame, but what you actually end up doing is hitting the sweet spot with more distance between you. I'm a big fan of trying to hit the frame of the racket in for multiple reasons. Hitting a topspin ball, you try to hit the south pole of the ball with the top frame of the racket because then you miss the frame and you go like this. For players who hit really flat, that's how you teach them topspin. Hitting the serve, leading with the edge. So if you're constantly getting too close to the ball, XCG, I think was your name, you know to stand farther away, but you're probably still struggling to do so because you're still trying to hit the sweet spot. Stand so far away that you hit the frame and watch, you'll actually stand farther away from the ball. Making high tape back and you determine high balls helps a ton. Oh, of course. Yep, absolutely. Thanks for doing this, by the way. You are my favorite online coach, and I've seen a lot of them. Thank you, Cameron. Um, Okay. What should I do if I keep getting lobbed during the entire point? How can I end it? You can come in and take it out of the air or hit short on purpose. Like, right, if you're playing someone, Juliet, who's going to lob a lot, then hit the ball really short. And then that's going to bring them in, and then the lobbing stops. Hi, if you were coaching 5 kids starting to serve, should you teach pinpoint, platform, and let them try both? Let them try both. Is there an argument platform is slowly phasing out? Things are cyclical. They'll come back. On the one-handed topspin backhand, why does my ball keep going long? Best guess is that my entire body is lifting up. Jonathan, in my experience, most players do not change their grip far enough. So use your top hand to change the grip. So when you change the grip for a one-handed backhand, you have to think of like a pepper grinder, right? So you go to a restaurant, and they're like, "Would you like pepper in your whatever?" And you're like, "Sure." And they're like, right? They don't just turn one part, they'll turn both. When you change your grip, turn both the racket and your hand. So the way you want to think of this is turn your palms away. The reason the ball is going long, possibly, is because your grip isn't far enough. what most players do with their grip is they get it kind of in between a continental and an Eastern backhand. Let me show you the grips to make this make sense. Let's talk about the handle. You've got the handle, the very top flat side. Notice the racket is straight up and down. The very top flat side is panel number one. Um, so I know people call it a panel or a bevel. I don't call them bevels because people get confused what a bevel is. People think the corners are bevels or bezel, right? So I use the word panel because like everyone knows what a panel is, right? So I use the word panel on purpose. I used bevel for years, decades, and all of a sudden I realized, oh wow, okay. Um, People don't know what a bevel is, so I use the word panel. So the top panel, this top flat side, you want to put the base, Jonathan, the base knuckle of your index finger and your heel pad, these two spots, see if we can focus, but these two spots on the very top panel. And you could turn it even farther if you needed to, just a little bit farther, a little bit more Justine and Ardan, a little bit more Guga, Gustavo Kirten. And that just makes it even easier to handle high balls. But if you turn the racket as you turn the grip, you turn them together. Yeah, that's how you're going to actually be able to get the grip far enough. And then your racket face is not going to be open, and then you'll be able to keep the ball in. It helps you close the racket face too. Let's see. Good volley drill. Great question, Gabby. Wait, is that Gabby? Is that the Gabby I think it is? Yeah. So Gabby, you're you always are so positive with my videos. So Gabby always is like, "That's an amazing drill. That's amazing. Thank you so much." And I love it. So thank you. Like if you comment on my videos, I see you. Like I appreciate you because I see the same names over and over again. So thank you. So a really simple drill on the volleys is we know that we want to keep the racket head up, right? But I don't teach racket head up. I teach keep your hand down. It seems like six in one and half a dozen in the other, but it really is different. If you volley, let's say you hit a volley like this, okay? If you hit a volley like this, what is the coach going to say? The coach is going to say, keep your racket head up, right? Keep your, oh, you got to have your racket up. But I would say this was back in 2014, 2015. I've been teaching since 97. And I was always telling people keep the racket head up. And then I thought to myself, what the heck am I teaching? The problem isn't the racket. Because if you're hitting like this and your hand is next to the racket, which is a weak wrist position, when you tell people to keep the racket head up, their racket's not where the ball is. So the problem isn't where the racket is. The problem is where the hand is. You got to keep your hand down. So when you're going to hit volleys, keep your hand below the ball. So if here's the ball, keep your hand below the ball, and your racket naturally has to pop up. And then you've got the strong wrist position. That doesn't mean you're waiting for the ball to come to you. You're going to attack. Like there was one coach that kind of, and he's a nice guy, but he kind of came at me on Instagram indirectly because I made a video on this. And then like 30 seconds later, he came out with a video going, "Oh my gosh, I heard a coach say that you got to keep your hand down." And then he said something like, don't don't keep your hand down. You got to attack the ball and get that ball before it drops. I'm like, you mean you're going to tell Sampras that he shouldn't hit low volleys? You just got to get up to the ball before it drops? Ridiculous. Keep your hand below the ball. It was weird. It was like somebody saying like, "Do you walk to school or do you pack your lunch?" You'd be like, "Those aren't either or. Like, why are you asking the question like that? Do I walk to school or do I pack my lunch? Those things have nothing to do with each other." It was just weird, like how he came at me. Nice guy. I talk to him frequently on Instagram lives, but it's just weird. But when you're going to hit a volley, the height of the ball, keep your hand below the ball height. It forces your racket up, and then you've got a strong wrist position. So you were talking about kind of things that are going to help you with your volleys. All right. Keep the handle below the continental. So, Manu, I do not teach a continental grip on the volleys. I think it's one of the biggest reasons why players struggle hitting volleys. I think the continental grip and using the one grip system is the reason why rec players hate the net. 100 years ago, Bill Tilden told you use the same grip on ground strokes, And if Bill Tilden was around today, he'd be like, wait, you change your grip? There's enough time. There's plenty of time to change your grips. And it's like proven that you can change your grips. I've never used a Continental. Why is it mirrored? That's just how it is. which is which is a difficult shot to deal with. Which is a difficult shot to deal with. Um, I think a high backhand. I think is a tough one. I think is high backhand is a tough one. Two line, multi line. I don't know what you mean by that. Two lines, multi-line. Lately, I got smashed by a player playing deep, slow, high topspin balls on clay. Consistently lost almost all rallies. Yeah, you either got to go to the net or you bring them to the net. One of the easiest things, one of the best ways to kind of change the fortunes of a match is to change where you're standing or change where your opponent is standing. So if you don't like like the way a match is going, you lose the first, you're down a break in the second. Instead of thinking about where should I aim, you got to move where you are or move the opponent, meaning like hit short on purpose when you get a weak second serve to draw them up and then hit to their feet. Like make the match different. Can you give the basic steps for a strong second serve return without shanking it? Sure, absolutely. The first thing you got to do is you try to keep your head super still and don't jump. The number one reason why players jump is they move their head. I'm sorry. Yeah. The number one reason why people shank is because they move their head and they jump. So you want to not jump, keep your head super still, and keep a foot on the ground. And then you'll be able to attack the weak second serve. How to hit a forehand like Alcaraz. So Alcaraz turns with both hands on the racket, hand, elbow, and shoulder all the same height. He's got a soft lag. When you watch Alcaraz, his racket drops and his non-hitting hand clears forward. So he makes this move. And then as he hits the ball, his racket goes from, I'll do it lefty, so it looks like it's righty. As he hits the ball, his non-hitting hand is visible over his left shoulder, and he makes this move. So the racket goes from below his hand to above his hand. Um, like people talk about the windshield wiper. I don't like the idea of the windshield wiper. Instead of thinking of the windshield wiper, take the rainbow or that windshield wiper and turn it 90 degrees. So it's like a backward letter C. See that? It's like a backward letter C. And then his hand gets to the top of his head. And then when you watch him practice, he'll even catch the racket. I've done so many analysis videos on Alcaraz. I can see his forehand in my mind. All right, guys, I am going to take one final question. One final question. Let's see. Now, Rick, you're typing a lot of stuff here. Um, let's go. Let's go. Thank you, Ryan. What is the swing path when hitting balls above my shoulder? Ball tends to land in the net. Yep, because you're probably trying to swing down. You're probably trying to think of hitting the ball down off your racket. There is a slight low to high when the ball is shoulder level, but the ball mainly goes forward off the racket. You got to think of like rolling a ball off a table. The ball goes forward and then it drops. So you hit through the ball and you try to make the ball go straight forward off of your racket. Let me see here, Rick. When I'm playing, I stick to toes on the service line. I have trouble sometimes with them when my partner does a decent deep lob, but then I have toes on the service line. I get to a lot of the low balls that dip to the low volley on the service line, which is a harder ball to deal with. You're talking about on the service line. Is it more difficult to deal with the ball at your feet, or is it more difficult to deal with that really amazing lob? Well, it depends on you personally, right? So if you go up, you hit an approach, your opponent lobs a lot, so you stop at the service line, toes on the service line. When somebody hits a ball really high over your head, Rick, you got to make sure you use a drop step and a crossover. It's immediately do a drop step and then a crossover, which is exactly what a quarterback does when they get the ball. They'll drop step and then crossover to throw the pass. That's the fastest way to move back. A lot of times people go like this. So you have to film yourself and see what you're doing. But what you got to do is drop back, drop, which is called a drop step, and then a crossover. And if you're at the net or on the service line and you're dealing with a low volley, you're going to struggle with the low volley if you're not putting the racket directly where the ball is going to arrive. So a lot of times with low volleys, players turn to here and then they go to here, or they go to here and then they go to here, right? So like I live in Pennsylvania, so that's what I call like don't go to Illinois on your way to Florida. Like don't go over to go down. You just want to immediately go down. And so if you're dealing with lobs over your head and you're struggling with them, work on drop step and then crossover to get back quickly, and the ball's not going to go over your head. And then if the ball is hit low to you, immediately set the racket where the ball is going to arrive and you can pick it up rather than turning and then slamming. Like if you're the type of person who your racket slams against the ground after you make contact with a low volley, then you're setting the racket too high and then chopping, where you really want to set the racket where the ball's going to arrive and then volley up. I'm just using my phone, Manu. Yeah, just like iPhone 13, I think. I think I'm up for an upgrade, but I haven't gone over to get a new phone. So, all right, guys, thank you. If your smartphone, then you can correct the mirroring. Um, I, I, you're right, except I've tried it both ways. Where I go into my settings and I click the button. Yeah, thank you, Damien. Thank you. And I do the like the mirroring, but then when I do it, it didn't seem to make a difference. I tried it both ways, so I know what you mean. So I don't know. Maybe I'll have to figure it out. All right, guys, thank you. So yeah, reversing. Yep. Manu, send me an email, Ryan at 2Minute Tennis, Ryan at 2MinuteTennis.net. And with what you were saying. All right, guys, I do have to run. If you thank you so much. If you would like me to coach you, yeah, you got it, Juliet. If you're struggling with your serve, you want a better serve, you want a better kick serve, you want a better forehand, you want a better backhand, whatever. Your videos helped me for years now, whether before or after the match. When is your next live stream? I don't know. I decided to go live today. It's really fun. I go live every day picking up my kids from school on Instagram for 20 minutes around 3 o'clock New York City time. Uh, but if you would like me to analyze your serve, your forehand, your backhand, whatever, I do have to run. But click in the description. You can see it'll say get analyzed by Ryan. I'm running a sale right now, usually to get analyzed by me. Like you want me to put you side by side with the pros on your forehand, your backhand, your volleys, your serve, whatever. It's $110 per stroke. And I send you back like a 20 to 40-minute video, depending on the stroke and depending on how much I have to teach you. Putting you side by side with the pros, I teach you what you do correctly and then a list of what you need to practice and what you need to improve, proving what I'm teaching you with side by side comparisons of you and the pros. It's only $60 right now between now and Sunday night. So I'm running a sale. I do a sale on these maybe 3 times a year. So this week they are on sale. Thanks so much, Erwin, and thanks for your support with the cup of coffee. I appreciate it. So thank you. Yeah. So thank you, Juliet. I hope I get the chance and best of luck in your tournament. So if you want me to analyze you, go in the description right now. Or if you'd like, we can even get on a phone. Does not have a built-in feature or tool to reverse the video. Oh, there you go. See, there you go. I didn't think there was, but I was happy to hear if there was. So thanks again. I love doing these lives, and it just means the world to me that you come on here and you ask the questions. It's really, really great. So I like to be accessible every now and then. I try to always put up a video every single day. And Juliet, best of luck with your tournament on the 19th. That's awesome. So thank you so much, everyone, and you got this.